So we are thinking, that we had a program, Nature Every Day, and we didn't have too much about children with disabilities or children with special needs, whatever you want to call it. So I decided to go ahead and prepare a presentation. And the first part of this presentation is a reflection, and I would like to see what you think about it. So, do we need specialized spaces for children? Because it seems that children play anywhere where they can, with or without special needs, right? Like this is the Chicago Botanical Garden, I was observing, and I observed what happened, right? The father was there. I don't think the father was too happy because you can see the way that he is pulling that bad behaved child. So I was also observing these type of environments, and I say, well, can a child play here? Well, of course, if you observe a little bit harder, you will see children playing there. So do we need specialized spaces for children? And this is, I think, is always in the back of our minds when we are designing. And sometimes we say, well, we don't. Now we accept that some children need specialized accommodation. So who are these children, these very different children? And when I prepared this presentation and I brought this image from the Play for All guidelines, I remembered, and I would like to pay tribute in memory of Susan Goldsman that just passed away last week, a good friend of ours. So this is an incredible book, Pay for All Guidelines, that is Robin Moore here, Susan Goldsman and Daniel Yakovine in 1997, and I don't think there is a better book for designing outdoor environments for children with different abilities than this one. So who are these children with disabilities? When we talk about children with disabilities, it's such a big bag, and the first thing that the designers think of is ramps and cut curbs and all of that. But the truth of the matter is that there is such an incredible array of special needs or disabilities. In 1,000 children between the age of 3 to 21, you will find one child with a physical disability, 1.5, sorry about the average here, with sensory disability, 2 with multiple disabilities, 6.5 with chronic health impairments, and the others ones with social and emotional disabilities or limitations or whatever we call it, communication problems and cognitive problems, 47. But I would like to add these other children that perhaps are coming with family issues, with issues of ethnicity that do not perhaps go well with the environment where the context where they live in. The culture is different. And I can say this because I'm coming from a different culture, and sometimes environments are not well suited for me, or I don't understand the environments, different ages. Children under stress, with anxiety, as was mentioned here, children under poverty. So I would say, we need to think of children with special needs or with disabilities in a different way. And of course, there are some children that need specialized environments or arrangements for them, and we recognize that. So I want to talk with you about a concept and a way of thinking of this, and this habilitation approach. I know this is a word that doesn't translate or the meaning is not that clear in English. It's very much used in Scandinavia, in Latin America, we know about this. That means strengthen the current abilities and to open new opportunities. Because if the child is born with a disability, there is nothing to rehabilitate because the ability was never there, right? But yes, it is an opportunity to bring these opportunities of new experiences, to open up new skills, if you will, to aid to the quality of life. And this is true for everybody. It's true for you, for me, for everybody. So I'm going to show briefly, I think I have time now for one project that I hope you enjoy. This is about adventure play for children with disabilities, and it was created or brought to England by Lady Allen of Harewood. She was an accomplished landscape architect. If we have to highlight some things here, I would say the founder member of the Institute of Landscape Architects, and also one of the founding members of the World Organization for Early Childhood Education, that is also called, as a MAPE, because it's the word in another language. And she was a creator and originator of the British adventure play areas for disabled children. In that time, it was called HAPA, that was Handicap Adventure Playgrounds Association, but now it seems it's not that accepted to say handicapped children, so they are changing their name. And she said very controversial things here, as you can see. It is better to risk a broken leg than a broken spirit, so we do agree with that. And then she said, a leg can always mend, a spirit may not. Well, of course, that's why we have some presentations here about risk management, and we are going to talk about that. But just consider this idea of a child that has a right, as she says, to be able to experience the world. In Argentina, where I'm coming from, and our families are mainly Italian, we think that children are very strong. If they fall down or something happens, it's nothing. And people say, it's a child. You know, nothing happens to a child. We think they are strong, they are adventuresome, and we support that. We don't care so much. And I know it's a cultural situation, but I think it's something that perhaps we need to start thinking of. So she created this environment, and we had the opportunity several years ago visiting the original adventure playground for children with disabilities. And here we are taking photographs, and we see a bus of children with some adults coming, and they used to come, they said, like every week. And here you can see these children playing music. Now, I suppose you know what type of disability these children may have. What is it? Yeah, they are blind or with visually impaired. And so they are really into this. And I think the theory of flow will apply here, because you could see these children going into this sound and being there for long, long, long minutes and doing whatever they wanted. Some there were singing, doing the bell, and some were with the tubes, etc. But there was more than that. We were observing and taking photographs, and these children are going like race cars on this, with these tricycles and these cars, and these children are blind. And we are looking there and taking photographs and thinking, what in the world? And they could turn exactly where they have to turn, because they used to come every week, right, to these places. So, to this particular playground, in fact. And so we could see they master the environment, even without being able to see. Now, you can see that the environment is prepared for them. As you can see, these big logs all around the pathway that are, the logs are kind of keeping them in the pathway if they don't turn properly. And you can see in the back, in the top right-hand side, there is a teacher helping a child to jump from that wooden structure. So you imagine how difficult that is. And then he would do it by himself. So this is one of the ways to go about and to allow children to explore the world. They have the right, as this group of people say. The other example I would like to show is one in Edinburgh, in Scotland, and every time we have the opportunity to visit, we go and visit this place. It is called a yard, although it was called Scotland Yard. Right, for many years. Now, this place was quite close to the headquarters of the Scotland Yard, and then the police came and said, you know what, we don't think you can use that name because it's a little bit confusing, so they changed, and now they call themselves the Yard. That is a built indoor-outdoor adventure playground in Edinburgh, and they receive children and young people with disabilities, but they have an integrated program. And I think this is very, very interesting because family and friends and neighborhood children attend this place too. So it makes it a little bit more real for children, right? To be able to interact with different type of children. So this is interesting to see for the designers. The garden location, they have a great indoor facility with very big windows that open to the children's outdoor spaces. It is visible from the public entrance. There are the waiting areas, and there is a very strong indoor-outdoor connection. It is also because, you know, this is Edinburgh. The weather is not always warm and calm. It's usually very wet and cold, right? But they are Scottish, so they can take it better than us. So there are some indoor-outdoor structures that would allow, you know, kind of a transition where the children can be outside but still in a way that is covered and is protected and allows to go and enjoy the outdoors, even if there is inclement weather. And this is a place that is ever-changing. And every time we go, there is a different installation, there is a different program, there are areas that are created by children for enjoyment of the children and the families. And I think that is another quality that we should look into this when we think of spaces for children with some type of special needs. You can see here there is a very clear circulation. There is a pathway that takes us to all of the settings. And there is a central lawn where all these events or special activities happen. There is, as I said, a circulation and is full of sensory cues. And this is good for everybody, right? It allows the children to roam and to know where they are. There are some main pathways and secondary pathways and a lot of, I would say, light reflecting objects and that would guide the exploration of children. So there is, and we have been talking about environmental engagement a lot, and I think this is very important because the child has to have the freedom to explore the environment. Like this child that we can see, you know, sometimes children with disabilities do not want to walk too much, but in this case, she's not walking, she's just taking the doll around. So there is a big difference, and there is a place to go because now she has to take the doll to a destination that was this was the sensory path, so she had to do that. So she is getting the exercise and she's going around. The teepee here is a photograph of an installation that I saw years ago too, that is made with a fragrant grasses. And so the idea was to create this teepee, and then the children would sit inside and enjoy the fragrance of those grasses that are, you know, of course, the structure is, as you can see, created and decorated by children, and the grasses can be changed as the fragrance is, you know, used by the participants. As I said, this is an ever-changing type of environment, and so some years ago they embarked on the creation of a sensory garden, and they converted that into a project. The preparation of this project took about a year, and it was done with the community of children in the yard. So they created a book, they took photographs, they visited Kew Gardens and the Botanic Garden, and other places, and then they created several of the installations in the gardens. And I don't know if you imagine how the garden looked like, but it looked at the beginning like this. And this was their creation, this was what they wanted, and they care for this. As you can see, there are flowers, there are animals, and a lot of objects that they cared immensely. Now, part of the activities here in this institution are facilitated by play workers, and that is a profession in England. And most of these play workers has a background in the arts or education through the arts. So this is very dynamic, and each season this is going to change. And that is the beauty of it. So artists maybe come and work with children, but children are the artists. And they own the place, and they decorate the planters, and they decorate the fences, and every year is going to be different. And there is a lot of work that is, I would say, invested in this place, and a lot of love, because they own this place as they make it. So they usually do a special Saturdays, and the day we were there, there was a lot of music. So this is created. They create pockets of activities in different areas. Of course, there was the Indians, as you can see. There is a teepee, and there is music, and of course costumes and makeup. And also, there is always an opportunity for those children or young people that don't want to be actually totally involved, like those guys on the top. There is like a lookout area where they can go and observe. And somehow they are part of the action. And of course, a lot of digging, and they have many, many booths and, gear for being outside and play. The light reflections is very important in this garden also, because remember, this is Scotland. In the winter at 3 p.m. it's dark, and I think the sun comes up maybe at 10, and so 10 in the morning, so there is not too much time to enjoy the outdoors with light. So light reflections is very important, and this special tree is at the end of the tunnel in the top photograph, and if you step on this mosaic of mirrors, you feel that the crown of the tree is in your head if you look into this mosaic on the floor. It's very, very, very nice. We saw also a child with that somebody said was in the autism spectrum, and he attends every week here. He likes that place. It's like his place, and he likes to be there. He rocks in front of the water that is bubbling under the deck. And it was very interesting. Everybody knew him, and he is still part of the activity, because sometimes he looks around and he sees the children coming out from the slide that he's not going to use, but he's part of the action. And I think the play workers were telling us this, they see as a very positive situation for him. They have night outs and adventures with water and special things, a little bit messy, but very, very stimulating. So there is a place where these activities can happen in a safe place. We call it little adventures in safe places, because this guy was taking a ride. It was a journey around with a bicycle, but in fact it was not that big. But for him, because of the plants and the way it is, the space is configured, for him was going very, very far by himself, which is very nice. There are many stories. You can see some of these in the website. What I would like to stress here is what a parent says in the Aila story, that is, she is free to roam here. It's a free place. It's a place where she can freely explore the place. And of course, there is support from the staff. And the other one, I think, is very important of this sister saying, the best thing about this place is that it's not just for some, it is for me, for dad and mom. So here we see how the social aspects and the relationship had to do with the space. That's why we never design or we think of the social and the environment as one, as a whole. So when all these conditions are done, we have this type of engagement. Children with children, children with the environment, children with the adults. There is nothing better than that.